I am the internet, and I like it when KSSU is on me.
Welcome, Matt and Tech Show, minus Tech Show. If you didn't listen to the past 2 episodes, and you're a new time listener, there is no more Techs, at least for this semester. It is just the Matt Show, but I call it the Matt and Tech Show, minus Tech Show. That first song was from Telekinesis. They're going to be in town here on April 22nd at the Blue Lamp downtown Sacramento. I like their band and their sort of feel. When they have a good song, I really like it. If they don't have a song I like, it's alright. But when there's a song I like, I love it, and I listen to it all the time. And so that's a band I really like. If I can go down and see that show, I probably will. Today on the show, if you're listening last week, we had a guest. Because Tex isn't here, sometimes I get guests in to help me talk, because it isn't fun talking by yourself. So last week I had my brother join me. He was in town for the week, and we had him on. Really fun. That recording of the show is online, facebook.com/MattandTex, under live recordings, under last week the 11th. I record all my shows, put them all there. This week, no guest. By myself, which will be fine. I got a lot of nerdy stuff to talk about, and I can talk about that. Next week, though, we do have a special guest. If everything goes well, instead of having my brother on, I will have my sister guest host with me, and hope maybe, if it works for her schedule, she'll be on every Monday with me. Her name's Emily, twin sister. She's been on once with Tex and I last semester. Didn't talk much. We'll see how much she starts talking next Monday. Especially if I bring up more nerd topics, we'll see how she goes. So that'll be something to look forward to next week. This week, though, got a lot to talk about. In the past couple days, there's been some exciting news, and at least science sense. In Russia, you've probably heard this. There was a meteor that caused quite a commotion. The next day, there was an asteroid that barely missed Earth. Safely it missed Earth, but it was very close. We'll talk about that. And then something that I'm really, really excited about at the end of this year, in about November, which will be happening. I'll talk about that. So today is basically an episode about near-Earth objects. So I'm getting really nerdy today. Send some questions to facebook.com/MattandTex or twitter.com/MattandTex, and I'll try and answer them. I'm not a professional scientist. I watch a lot of Discovery Channel, read some Nat Geo stuff, and read some nerd blogs, but I feel like I know a good amount about this stuff. So we'll talk about that. Right now we'll go to the next song, and we got some music. The first couple songs aren't related to it, but the rest of the songs I have today sort of either the title or the band, or they have a sort of space or near-Earth object sort of sense, and we'll get those songs. Pretty fun. But this next song is from Phoenix. Literally just released this song at 11:30 on our time. They posted their Facebook page on their YouTube page as a video. This song just came out. I think it was first played on BBC One with forget his name, some DJ there, but you're going to hear it here first on the Matt and Tech Show, minus Tech Show. Probably haven't heard it anywhere else. The song is called Entertainment. Their new album is called Bankrupt. It's coming out in a couple months. From Phoenix. Phoenix will be in UC Davis on April 2nd. Myself and executive producer Trevor will be there. We'll see you there. Buy your tickets. They're still there. They haven't sold out yet, but very popular band. I like their sound. We heard this new song called Entertainment. We'll come back and talk about some science stuff. Matt and Tech Show, minus Tech Show. Phoenix with their new song called Entertainment off their newest album called Bankrupt, which isn't out yet. Come out in a couple months. If you are listening from the TuneIn Radio app, which is an application on your smart device, you probably aren't listening to me right now, so me telling you this doesn't make sense. But it appears that the TuneIn Radio app isn't functioning right now. I hope KSSU.com is still streaming, but I can't really tell because I'm here in the studio. So we'll see how it goes. This will be recorded, so you'll see it on Facebook if you can't listen to it here. Real quick, yesterday I went skiing for the first time in probably 10 years. And boy was I rusty. Fell many times. We went up to a resort with a friend of mine, Michael, and his family, the Brownings, Mark Browning, who listens to my show quite a bit. Hey. We went up to Tahoe, Northeast Tahoe, specifically at Diamond Peak, or Incline Village, if you would. Beautiful day. Got up to about 45 degrees when we left, so it got a little hot, but sun was out. Pretty crowded because today is President's Day, and it's a 3 or 4 day weekend for most of us, but here at Sac State, we don't observe holidays, so we go to school. Anyway, so I went skiing, fell quite a lot. Got used to it after a while, got back into the flow, and then my quad just started getting tired, and I started getting fatigued, and all my focus and all my attention kind of fell, and I fell with it. I hurt my knee really bad. I'm limping around school right now, and every muscle in my body is sore. So if anyone knows a good masseuse, hit me up. And there's my story there. So if we're going to talk about near-Earth objects, that was my segue, we kind of have to define what a near-Earth object is. There's a couple of names that I'll throw at you right now. There's the idea of meteoroid, asteroid, meteor, and meteorite. So some of you don't know what any of that means. I'm going to define it for you. So though there's a meteoroid, and this is a small, very small object. There is no range on how big. As far as I know, NASA doesn't give a range on how big the object has to be, but it's very small, usually rock, that is in space. It could be orbiting the sun, could be just, in most cases it's going to be fall in the orbit of the sun in our solar system. A meteoroid then, and it's not influenced by Earth at this point, it could then possibly turn into a meteor. And so a meteor is an object of any size that will burn up into our atmosphere and glow. Much like you see meteor showers, shooting stars. Those are just debris, hits our atmosphere with the intensity of friction, the mass of the object, and the density of our atmosphere. It superheats itself, glows very brightly, and in most cases, if it's a meteor, it burns up completely, never to encounter the Earth. And in most cases, it's very high up in the atmosphere, thousands or hundreds of miles up. And then we go into a meteorite. So we're talking a meteoroid is in space. A meteor has actually contacted the atmosphere. And then a meteorite is actually that object that hits our atmosphere, goes through our atmosphere, and actually is large enough to go through our atmosphere without dissolving completely. And then in that sense, the rest of the meteor will hit ground, and once it makes contact with Earth, it is then considered a meteorite. And then one last phrase, asteroid. From when I was taught in my geography class, which wasn't an astronomy class, the teacher, who was older, might have some older knowledge, but what he defined an asteroid was simply an Earth or an object in space that is specifically in the asteroid belt. So between Earth and Mars, there's basically a ring of millions and millions of asteroids. Some large, some small. Most aren't larger, I believe, than the planets, or else they'd be considered planets. So my geography teacher defined an asteroid as any of those objects in that ring. Once it leaves that ring, it becomes a meteoroid. That's what he defined it as. Sometimes another meteoroid will hit an asteroid in the belt, and it'll push it out of the orbit, that central ring, and then once it moves out of the orbit, it is no longer defined as an asteroid, but a meteoroid. I did research today using NASA, their website, and they defined an asteroid as anything that orbits the Earth, or I'm sorry, not the Earth, the Sun, not specifically in the asteroid belt only. The asteroid belt is considered, those are all asteroids because they're orbiting the Sun, but really anything. Sometimes they have an oblong orbit, something that doesn't match up with the rest of the asteroids belt. But really any large, rocky, Sun-orbiting mass in a sense, all the planets are asteroids, but they're so big they're considered planets. Pluto is maybe a good example. Pluto was docked down from planet to planet. I forget the terminology. I don't want to say anything, but okay. So Pluto, I guess, is smaller, not necessarily a planet, so it's considered an asteroid or a planetoid, something like that, just a smaller planet. So in that sense, on Valentine's Day here in the States, I think it was the next day in Russia, there was a, and no one's really sure at this point if it was a meteor or a meteorite, because we're not sure if it broke up completely in the atmosphere or actually hit the surface. That's up to debate as far as I checked online hours ago. We'll discuss that big impact and how it freaked out many people, or not impact. But right now, I'm going to play a song. A friend of mine basically just met within the last week. We have mutual friends on Facebook, you know how that works, and then you become friends. Turns out she's somewhat of a singer. Showed me her SoundCloud page, and listened to some of her tracks, and I was actually impressed. I know a couple people that tell me, "Oh, I sing," and then I hear them, and then it's not impressive. But I actually really like her sound. Really cool. If you want to hear more of her tracks, she's got a couple of them. She sometimes is kind of featured in some hip hop songs, and then a couple acoustic tracks that are mainly just her voice. The song I'm going to play right now is mainly just her voice. Her name is Sequoyah Fox. Sequoyah, not spelled like the county, but Sequoyah. Last name Fox. You can search her on SoundCloud, pull up her songs. They're all there. You can download them if you want. I downloaded one here. A song called "Company of a Fool." We'll play that right now. See how you like it, and we'll come back and talk about the Russian meteor/meteorite that occurred on Valentine's Day. Enjoy.
You're the company of a fool.
Company of a Fool. That was a friend of mine, Sequoyah Fox. I like it. You can go and find that on SoundCloud. Just search for Sequoyah Fox. Again, Sequoyah spelled Sequoyah. Last name Fox, spelled like Fox. That song was Company of a Fool, like I said. We've already discussed what the definition of some of the near-Earth objects are. Right now, here is a song that is kind of referencing to that. Song I like, band I like, great song. The song's called Like a Stone. Get it? Because the near-Earth objects are rocky. Audio Slave, we'll play that, go to our commercial break, come back, and talk about that Russian meteor. Welcome back, Matt and Tech Show. That was our commercial break. We the Kings will be here whenever they said. I don't listen to them, but if you like them, they're here. Talking about meteors today, meteors, asteroids, and a whole lot of near-Earth objects. On Valentine's Day, there was quite an event. If you haven't seen the videos, check them out. There's a lot of them, and it's really, really cool. A meteor over Russia, specifically Chebarkul, Russia, in the Ural Mountains. There was a meteor in the middle of the day, man, towards the end of the night, that hit the atmosphere, hit it so hard, some of it exploded, creating a shock wave. That was massive. The object itself, NASA believes it was 50 to 55 feet large, really not large at all, if you're thinking about relative to the Earth or other objects in the universe. It was traveling thousands of miles, like 47,000 miles per hour, roughly. They're not really sure. The shockwave, though, that it created when it hit the atmosphere and exploded eventually, injured more than 1,000 people. I don't think anyone was officially killed, but windows are shattered all over schools and hospitals, and foundations were shook and all this. And NASA believes the blast yield, which is kind of the measurement of an explosion or the force created by an explosion, was about 500 kilotons. In perspective, the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima to end the Second World War, called Little Boy, 500 kilotons. The blast yield that blew up over Hiroshima was 16,000 kilotons. Or 16 kilotons. So 500 over Russia, 16 that ended the war in Hiroshima. So a large explosion, and that's just because the object was so heavy. NASA believes about 10,000 tons, and moving so fast, and it just kind of hit the atmosphere. And if you're moving something that fast, it's like hitting a wall. It's like if you're falling really fast and hit water, it's just like a flat wall. That thing was traveling so fast that air was just a barrier, broke through it, exploded. Some people believe that it actually, some of it left or exploded and landed on the Earth. There hasn't been actual evidence that I've seen online to prove that. There is one image and a big tourist site at this point where there's a big ice or hole in an ice sheet on a lake. They're not positive that it was because of this meteor, because they've had divers go down and they have no evidence of any sort of space rock or anything that could resemble something like this. So either that's a coincidence, or just a hole in an ice sheet for whatever reason, or this actually landed. If it didn't land, like I was talking before, if it didn't actually make contact with Earth, then it's still a meteor that it just broke up apart. A very large meteor than what we're used to. It just broke up apart in the atmosphere. If it hit the floor, then it'd be a meteorite. But at this point, they have not found any relics of this explosion, though very large explosion. In 1908, I think something actually happened in Siberia, in Russia, that exploded over a forest and devastated the forest for miles. It was a large explosion, a much larger asteroid. There's still evidence of a lack of trees, a big circle of no trees because of this explosion. A similar thing occurred on Thursday, but on a much smaller scale. So that was pretty exciting. The last song we played was Like a Stone, Audio Slave, because it's very rocky, these Earth objects. The next song I'm going to play is from a band called the Asteroids Galaxy Tour. So we're talking about asteroids, talking about meteors. There's that. The song is called Around the Bend. Probably heard it on a couple commercials. Really high beat, really fun. We'll play that. Come back. We'll talk about a near miss, a larger object in space that barely missed Earth. Could have been a lot worse for more people. Luckily, it didn't. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about more exciting stuff coming up in November. The song's called Around the Bend, the Asteroids Galaxy Tour. In relation to the topic of the day, near-Earth objects, that was from the Asteroids Galaxy Tour, a song called Around the Bend. Want to put shout out to a new listener of the Matt and Tech Show, Minus Tech Show. Hi, Dakota. First time listener, hope you're enjoying. So before that song, we talked about the meteor that hit, or not hit, we don't know yet, that exploded over the atmosphere in Russia, hurting up to or more than 1,000 people. We'll talk about one that missed us, and actually caused a little commotion for a couple months now. NASA, actually maybe 6 months or to a year, NASA and astronomers have known of an asteroid that was heading towards Earth. There was an asteroid that was in the proximity of Earth. After studying for weeks and months, they learned the trajectory of it, the orbit of it, and they found out that it would be very close to Earth, but it would not actually hit our orbit or hit the planet. The specific name of it is 2012 DA-14. This object, the one that exploded over Russia, was about 50 to 55 feet. This object that missed Earth was 150 feet, so 3 times more. You can imagine the damage it would have caused if it actually broke or exploded or hit the atmosphere. This one was very, very close. So there's the moon, there's some satellites, International Space Station. This, we'll call it an asteroid because it's orbiting the sun. This asteroid actually made it between the orbit of some of our satellites that are orbiting the Earth. So it got to about 17,100 miles. I think the closest it was to our planet was right above Singapore. Wasn't very visible. You might have seen something very, very tiny. It was more on the eastern hemisphere, so no one in the States was able to see it. But with a telescope, you might have seen a little dot, but I can't imagine you would. It's very, very small. So that barely missed us, and that was pretty exciting. Some people thought that the asteroid that NASA and other astronomers were talking about coming to Earth was the one that actually broke up over Russia's Ural Mountains, but these were two different objects. The reason we didn't actually know about the one that blew up over Russia is because it was so small. Something 50 feet you're trying to see for thousands of miles away. It's very hard to detect. We were able to luckily detect this, or not luckily, it didn't hurt us at all, but we did see this 150 feet asteroid coming, so we knew it was here. But the 50-foot one was just so small that no astronomers were able to notice it. Luckily, it didn't do too much damage, but it is a threat. We are living in a dangerous universe. A lot of stuff flying around. So that's that. The next song, I guess we'll talk about this now. In November, we talk about asteroids, meteors, meteorites, meteoroids. In November, a comet, which is very similar to an asteroid, except for this, a comet usually will have more icy materials, usually a lot of water. Like an asteroid, it will orbit the sun, and usually in a weird oblong shape. And a lot of times Earth's orbit will hit this orbit as well. So a big famous one is Halley's Comet, which comes about, or Halley's Comet, however you want to pronounce it, comes about 75 to 77 years. Last occurred in 1986 or 7. My brother swears he remembers it, though he was 2 or 3. But he says that's kind of one of the more famous ones. It's more reliable. We always seem to see it. It seems to match up with this pretty well on 75 to 77 years. So that's been recorded since the 1600s. This new one, though, is supposed to be if it lives up to its height, even more spectacular. So this comet, which might have a name, but I haven't figured it out, not too important, is currently about the orbit of Jupiter, so very, very far away at this point, but it's traveling fast. And the way comets work is because they're full of ice, they're big ice ball, they still have some rocky components, but they're mainly just ice. What it does, it orbits the sun, and once the closer and closer it gets to the sun, the more that ice on that comet will fly off or boil off, and at that point it creates a tail. And the tail is usually the biggest part you'll see on a comet, because the tail can last for miles and miles and miles, thousands, maybe even millions of miles. And that's why they're so big, and you can see them for great distances, even if they're not really that close to Earth. Halley's Comet, you'll see the big, large tail. You can Google comets, and you can see the biggest thing will be just a large smear of light. And the exciting part about this one is it's going to be very, very close to the sun, and then it'll be very close relatively to the Earth. It will, I believe, in around October to January is when we'll be able to see it, with the towards the beginning and the end with aided, so like a telescope or binoculars. And then about November 8th to about December, you'll see a very, very, you can see it with the naked eye. If it goes well, and if it doesn't burn up at the sun, which a lot of comets do because it's so hot, they either just dissolve, blow up, or they just lose all their ice. If this one goes close enough to Earth, goes close enough to the sun, comes back, it should have, in the best conditions, its longest tail, its brightest tail. All this water and all this vapor is melting off, and so it'll create a very large tail. Sometimes scientists are saying it'll be as bright as the full moon, if not brighter, and you can see the full moon during the day, so this comet will actually be visible at its peak during the day as well. You won't see it moving in the sky because it's moving it's so far away from us, and it's moving fast, but so far away from us, like the stars. It'll move very slowly in the sky. You won't see it like zoom past, so it'll be in the sky for many, many days. I will be taking a lot of pictures if it in fact does not break up when it gets closer to the sun and does come close to Earth. So that'll be very exciting. My birthday is November 9th, so November 28th is very close. Scientists are saying at the end of November to December will be the best time to view it. So it should be very exciting. This one I don't believe, or they don't know yet, if it has a sort of, what sort of orbit it has, so when it will be back, if it ever will. Halley's Comet still has many, many years to come. Last year in 2011, in the southern hemisphere, there was a pretty good comet that lasted a couple days. But I myself have never seen a comet, being a big nerd and I guess semi-annual or semi-amateur astronomer. I'm very excited about seeing this comet. So I'm hoping it doesn't burn up, and we'll see it at the end of the year. This song that I'm playing next is called "A Comet Appears" by the Shins. Enjoy it. Come back, talk about more stuff. Matt and Tech Show. "A Comet Appears" by the Shins. Should be a good comet coming up in November. This is the Matt and Tech Show, and our next song will be our last song. It's been fun. We talked about a lot of nerd stuff, some science. I hope a lot of you learned some stuff about meteors, asteroids, and the whole lot. Next week we'll be back. I'll be back, I guess, with a special guest, hopefully, my twin sister, Emily. We'll see her on Monday. We'll talk about more stuff, play some more music. If you haven't already, like our page, facebook.com/MattandTex or twitter.com/MattandTex. All our live recordings are up. You can listen to them, even this one. A reminder, Sequoyah Fox, the girl I played earlier, a song called Company of a Fool. Find her SoundCloud page. Just search Sequoyah Fox. Sequoyah spelled Sequoyah. Really cool. Listen to that stuff. This last song, though, again, kind of in that genre of universe, galaxy, interstellar objects. The song is called "Stellar" by Incubus. Popular band, popular song. Last song of the day. We'll see you next week. Matt and Tech Show. Minus Tech Show.